Forbes India Small Business Summit, presented by PhonePe Payment Gateway.
We're talking about from cottage to cutting edge, how technology can transform India's small businesses. And Praveen rightly said there that the digital transformation has been such that it has been very difficult to keep up with what has happened in the last about 5 years. And especially because the markets weren't perhaps ready for this kind of change, and this change was brought upon by the pandemic, and we also saw that what technological transformations would have happened perhaps in the next 10 years, they were cut to perhaps 6-7 months to a year or two, where everything digital went from, I mean, the simplest is, how schools went online, and everybody had to prepare their entire education system to fit those needs. So, of course, businesses in that time had to do much more than just handle the issues, but they were looking at a phenomenal change in the way business was done and was going to be done for the next years. Now, Christian, if I may get you in, the question always is, with rapid digitization and increasing financial inclusion in UP, do you see a marked change, and do you see MSMEs able to tap into the online markets and expand their customer base, etc.?
Well, namaskar everyone, and thank you Forbes and Network 18 for the invite. It's a real honor to be here. मैं कोई ज्ञान की बातें नहीं करूँगा, मैं अपना practical experience जो कर रहा हूँ, I'll just share with you. I run a business called Organic Wellness. ऐसी रिमोट विलेज में है वो मैं सपने में भी नहीं सोच सकता था if it was not a digitalized era. It is a remote village where even today getting power 24 hours is a major problem. The nearest biggest city is Jhansi. 100% the plant is managed by the local so-called uneducated team members. For me, they are the best. All are below 10 standards. I don't have any of my relatives or senior manager or anyone managing the show. I was there 2 years, sitting with them, giving them the ownership. From that remote village, Babai, the product goes pan-India and exports to over 30 countries. Wow. This is digitization, sir. I would have never imagined doing this, what we are doing today. What it really requires is a passion and a purpose, product uniqueness, and, sir, think about it, within seconds, the message goes the world over. Where was this possible earlier? If I do a product, I don't do any product launch. I have my WhatsApp, I have my Facebook, I have the social media, and the world over it goes. The point I'm trying to say is, now let me come to operations sitting in a remote village. PhonePe. Sir, thank you so much for all these initiatives, what you have taken. हमें टेंशन नहीं है, ड्राइवर भी आज पेमेंट कैश नहीं लेता. वो बोलता है सर फोन पे कर दो या जो भी डिफरेंट प्लेटफॉर्म्स आ रहे हैं. फोन पे certainly we use quite a bit. That itself is a strength. Now let me come to the biggest point. वो जो remote village में मेरी मशीन चल रही है, the vendor could be anywhere in India or across the world. हमारा जो दोस्त है वो बुंदेलखंडी बोलता है, वियतनाम में बंदा बैठा वो अपनी लोकल लैंग्वेज बोल रहा है, दोनों व्हाट्सएप वीडियो कॉल करके मशीन ठीक. So what I'm trying to say is, certainly sir, this is the right time, the right place, and if it is used properly, digitization, there could be many other challenges. You can really do work or operate from anywhere in the world, anywhere in the remote village, and grow business from cottage or a small scale or medium to really large scale. And let me tell you last and most important, vision है $1 billion business create करने का. Let's see how it goes.
Wonderful, wonderful. And this is coming from somebody who is running a business that is coming from a very small city, perhaps, not even a city, a small town, which is which is next to Jhansi, and और digital ने वहाँ पर ये कमाल किया है. उमंग, हम digital friendly regulations की अगर थोड़ी बात करें और digital friendly infrastructures की अगर बात करें, तो वो किस तरीके से develop किए जा सकते हैं आपके experience में? What have you seen? India Mart, of course, is huge, and you're bringing together so many businesses together. लेकिन digital transformation में कहाँ कमी है, and where do you see this bridging of the gap?
You've rightly put. I think India Mart is playing a pivotal role, in strengthening the MSME ecosystem in the country. But I think first and foremost, it's important to understand the current digital landscape in the, MSME industry across the country. If you talk about Uttar Pradesh, for example, I think UP has advanced, from being the 6th largest economy in the country to currently the 2nd largest, right? And MSMEs in Uttar Pradesh, they've grown at a CAGR of almost 10% over the last 5 years, which is even higher than the growth rate of the Indian economy. They've generated over 17 million employments. So this is the rosy story. This is an incredible journey that Uttar Pradesh and the country in general has taken over the past 5-6 years. However, having said that, I think the digital penetration in the current MSME landscape, that is still limited. And I think there are very few MSMEs that are digitally mature, so to say.
Right.
And when I say digitally mature, I'm basically referring to the fact that 30% or more of your revenue needs to come through online channels. Then you can be classified as, a digitally mature MSME. Now, if you look at the digitization funnel, there's a drastic drop from top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel, almost 88 to 90%. So you'll have some 64 million MSMEs across the country. And then you'll end up with only 7 to 8 million, who are digitally mature, which is drop of almost 88 to 90%. The rest, all the other MSMEs, they fall somewhere in between of this particular funnel, between the top and the bottom. So you'll have some 50 million MSMEs who would have access to technology and internet. Then out of these 50, you'll have 35 million who would actually have digital payment options as the preferred medium of payment. Out of these 35, you'll have 32 million who use platforms like Just Dial and India Mart for lead generation. And then there's almost a 70% drop, and then you come to platforms, the MSMEs making use of social commerce like, Facebook, Instagram, and e-commerce like Amazon, Meesho, etc., for driving business growth. And then finally, you're left with just 7 to 8 million who are actually digitally mature. So this is where, things lie. This is the perspective that I wanted to set. And when I talk about India Mart, well, it's been 28 very strong years. And as I said, from the very inception, the objective was to strengthen this particular MSME sector. And, we've been putting in efforts. We've been striving for, sort of acting as a catalyst for driving this digital journey of the MSMEs across the country. And just to share some numbers, so we're a family of some 8 million sellers, out of which 40% are from the remote towns, the tier 2 and beyond, and 60% are from the metros. We have 200 million users, registered users on the platform. 70% are from tier 2 and beyond, and 30% are from the metros, right? So the point that I'm trying to insinuate is that for us, the use of technology is all the more important, and the endeavor has been to, take these MSMEs, bring them as close as possible to technology. So what we have done is we have basically created an ecosystem. We have created an open platform wherein MSMEs, the sellers and the buyers, they can come, from across the globe, interact with each other, indulge in, the commercial activities. And we, from our end, the way we are looking at things and the way we are driving technology and its adoption is basically a couple of things, basically. So the first and the foremost is we've created a CRM seller panel for all our sellers, right? What they can do is they can get an access to data-driven insights around the market intelligence, around the pricing, around the competitive landscape.
It helps them to scale.
Right. So that basically helps them understand the market better and position their product better eventually. What we also do is, and I think this is the most critical one because behavioral, data-driven algorithms, whenever an inquiry is made on the platform or a search is made on the platform, the objective is to be as precise and as accurate, in terms of the output. That would help us in two ways: increase the customer stickiness and make the platform as relevant as possible for the sellers. So that's another use of technology. And, there's also a lot of A/B testing that we do regularly. We're very aggressive towards it. And lastly, I think not just the external stakeholders, the internal stakeholders too. So each and everyone in the organization across different levels, they have access to the seller insights, the data, so that they're able to have meaningful conversations with the sellers, provide a better customer experience, and also empower them in terms of decision making. So I think this is broadly what we are doing, and we're doing our bit to strengthen this particular sector.
It's commendable what IndiaMart is doing, and a huge round of applause primarily for helping MSMEs in their digital transformation and their digital journeys, and helping stakeholders have the peace of mind that we are on the platform and things are going to be taken care of, which is pretty much what PhonePe also does. But I'm going to have you have the last word before I'll get Vartika in. Fantastic growth of the brand. Ada is one of the most spoken about brand coming from India, and it's been so phenomenal. A huge fan. What has been the business like with digital transformation at your end? How did you see business change? You also work with the karigars from small places. How do you reach them? How do they come on a platform where they can not only just work but also scale up their work? What has been the digital journey for you?
First of all, thank you, Mugdha, for having me here. Thank you to Forbes. Thank you to PhonePe PG. And the way that I would like to answer your question is I'll break down the digital journey into two parts, one being the post-COVID and one being the pre-COVID. So pre-COVID, I would say there was still a lot of digital transformation taking place. Even though I agree, post-COVID has been so rapid. We've seen, like you said, the growth that we would have seen maybe in 5 years happen in a quick span of 2-3 months, right? But pre-COVID as well, there was a lot of digital changes that customers were willing to adopt for their convenience. So anything that you would want people to sort of adapt, you have to do it at their willingness, their convenience. आप अपना उन पे नहीं थोप सकते हो, जब तक उनको अच्छा लगेगा वो करेंगे. So for the consumers, so in my handicraft industry, say whether you take Lucknow ki chicken curry, you take Bandhani, you take any regional local handicraft, the only two ways to shop for those products was, number one, you visit that area and you purchase in person. The other option was if you had a relative visiting, you had a friend, you had a neighbor going down to that state, going to that city, having some sort of a pop-up interaction. That is how you would purchase those items. Today, 2024, the way that we're looking at it is so different. You can open up Instagram, you can open up, just Google, put in, I want to buy XYZ item, and you're going to have 50 Google shopping pages open up, right? So this was not how things were initially. So we saw a lot of consumers who would come interact with us, go back to their cities, their towns, their states, sometimes even their countries, and have a willingness to purchase that product again. मुझे एक और अपने collection में जोड़ना है, that sort of a thing. How do I explore options? How do I see your designs? How do I know what the right size for me is? How do I customize my fitting? So customers had these kind of inquiries, and we had already seen pre-COVID the adoption of WhatsApp shopping, the adoption of Instagram videos, like you had mentioned, social commerce, right? So there's that, there's Amazon coming into India. There was a lot of ways that we had already seen growing very rapidly pre-COVID. So I would put it this way, COVID आया एक तरीके से full stop लग गई shopping पे, and you're not going anywhere. You don't need anything apart from your essentials, which you were getting from your local kirana shops, you were getting from your Blinkits and XYZs. So once markets reopened, we saw a huge resurgence in fashion. Specifically, right? So there was a lot of revenge shopping happening. There's a lot, like people just went out and bought all kinds of, audacious things for no reason whatsoever. So that's where we saw the very big incline in fashion shopping as well. And post-COVID, things just really picked up quickly. You saw social commerce, it very, very quickly revolutionized. They came up with new features. There were even more payment gateways coming up. Even PhonePe, I remember we had PhonePe integrated before as well. But you came up with new, options. There was quicker settlements. There was the voice boxes. There was a lot of small changes that everybody made very rapidly so that you can become more accustomed and more appreciated by the customers. And I think that is how I would break down the journey between pre and post-COVID and how my industry was specifically impacted.
Wonderful. It's good to see Ada at the airports now, and
Yes,
so
thank
many
you.
international customers talking about it. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a commendable journey. I'm going to have you have the last word, Ankit, and answer questions that were raised in the previous panel and also this panel. But one of the things that comes to my mind is that with every digital transformation, stakeholders like you have to get out of your own offices and learn from the market as to what their needs are, because product is one thing and service is one thing, but is it fixing the problem of digital transformation that is that perhaps they are struggling with? So these kind of huddles that you started, I know were one of the reasons why you wanted everybody to come together. What have your learnings been?
Yeah, thanks, Mugdha. I think, if I look at the fact that, events such as these, and we've been talking about digital transformation, the previous panel, all of us, we've been talking about the fact that digital transformation across MSMEs has, benefited them. I think it's benefited the country more than just individual sellers. And the reason I believe that is, as a segment, traditionally, smaller businesses in India have been very, very innovative. I don't think we've done enough to recognize and appreciate the fact of how innovative this segment is. Mm-hmm. And now imagine combining that traditional business acumen with digital tools, right? I mean, they've taken their innovation to the next level. And what we as enablers or partners have to really do is keep pace, right? And you were talking about product is one thing, but I do believe that even in product, there's so much that we need to innovate. We need to enable, brands such as Ada, who possibly were, selling locally and now are selling internationally, We need to be able to give them that platform. So we as enablers have to constantly be on our toes, doing, sort of innovating so that we don't become a bottleneck. In fact, we sort of proactively are enabling them to spread their wings. The second thing I would talk about is hurdles such as these, tell us that we have to treat SMEs different from the way digital large businesses are being treated all along. Everyone in India assumes if you're digital, if you have a website, English is the medium. Sure, English is possibly the medium in which you sell online. But English may not be the medium in which you want to understand any problems that you have, or you want to understand how to grow my business, or if you have a problem. And that's why, for example,
Vernacular, you meant,
absolutely,
yes.
right? Traditionally, if you see, everyone talks about the fact that, if I'm running an online business, the support should be English. No, what we do is, for example, we have vernacular support as well. Because when we come to gatherings such as this, we realize that you might be selling online in English, but at core, when you really want to get into your dhanda, right, मुझे हिंदी में आंसर चाहिए. I want to understand how to do my business. I want to understand a problem. If there's a problem, how do I solve it? And my language of comfort is my
Mother
is
tongue or the
yeah, absolutely,
language
right?
of the state. Yeah.
So one of the things is enablers, partners should start understanding that India is not one, right? We have smaller pockets. We need to really be able to address these issues in the language that they are. For example, the other thing that people talk about is, oh, we've made it so easy, everything is plug and play. Absolutely. But talk to the people here. A small businessman who was an artisan, possibly doing traditional work, now wants to go online. You tell them, hey, this is a platform that's very easy to plug and play. All of you must have heard of platforms. Yes, but that person still needs help, right?
Hand-holding is, of course,
absolutely,
required.
absolutely, right? And that's where what we do is, for example, even if it's a very simple integration, we give them that support. We understand that this is early in their journey. They might be big traditionally in their offline businesses, but when they're going when they're going digital, they need that hand-holding.
I wanted to ask, do you also look out for businesses and then tell them that, you can't reach us, but we are reaching you and we can make this easier for you?
Oh, completely, completely. I think there are still so many businesses, so many segments in India that today are still very hesitant to look at it. Given our breadth on the offline side, I think there's so much that we do from an outreach perspective to be able to reach out to these businesses and say, hey, do you know there's a very simple way in which you don't have to set up a website, but you can start going digital. The other segment that we concentrate on, or rather focus on, and you called it out earlier, is the women entrepreneurs, right? I think traditionally there's so much business acumen that women entrepreneurs bring to the country, but for some reason there is still a lot of hesitancy. I mean, if you just look at the statistics, most digital businesses today in India are primarily male dominated, but increasingly, right? And you can see this panel, you could see the previous panel, Anandi was there as well. There is so much more women representation happening. And we have this Dare to Dream campaign, and we spoke about it, where we reach out to women entrepreneurs and say, in which way can we support you? And I think it's not just us. I think anyone here who's an enabler, who's a partner, it's all our responsibility to be able to support them, right? So we do very, very consciously reach out to segments and say, hey, while a lot of you are already starting on your journey, it's our responsibility to see how many of you can get started with our help.
I've also seen that digital journeys of different businesses are completely not aligned with each other. Somebody may need more hand-holding, somebody is already at another level where they can pivot to the next scale. Do you also customize your offerings then to suit different needs and different stages of digital transformation journey at which a business is at then?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the digital tools that are available today have helped make that simple. For example, scalability is a problem that most tools have solved. You can start with a solution that's very simple. We've innovated on pricing models, for example. We've told that, when you're starting small, I'm not going to give you complex pricing, right? I'm not going to tell you that if you do so much, you do this. I'm going to just say, hey, this is your cost. You shouldn't worry about how much am I going to be charged for going online. You should just have a simple number. You're starting off. Your mind space should go into how do I grow my business? How do I sell more? What products do customers want? Not how much is this going to cost me? So what we do is keep pricing very simple in the beginning. And as you start growing, sure, you now have scale, you have different lines of business, the economics of that is very different. So then we start differentiating and saying, hey, now that you're big, there are various aspects to pricing. Similarly, I think the kind of support that we give, we understand, and we were talking about this earlier, that, the larger enterprises possibly need white glove support. They need support of a different type, but early entrepreneurs just possibly need very simple basic thing and, vernacular support. So we do look at customizing all of this based on how these, which stage of the journey they are in.
Wonderful. We could talk on this forever, but I'm afraid this is what the time we have for this panel. Thank you so much to all four of you for sharing your insights and taking time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Forbes India Small Business Summit, presented by PhonePe Payment Gateway.